If the Tennessee Titans hope to upset the Buffalo Bills, Will Levis has to wake up. That and more on today's edition of Locked On Titans.
You are Locked On Titans, your daily Tennessee Titans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Titans podcast. I am your host, Tyler Rowland. Titans fans, today's edition of Locked On Titans is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you're going to get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. It is time to preview the Tennessee Titans Week 7 matchup with the Buffalo Bills. I'm going to go over my keys to victory in this game, go over my players to watch in this game, and give you my game and score predictions along with some fantasy and gambling advice as well. Before we get into all of it, I do want to thank you for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen each and every day. Remember, Monday through Friday, Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. You're not going to beat that anywhere else. Make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day. Speaking of every day, shout out to my everydayers out there tuning in Monday through Friday. Couldn't do it without you guys. And if you aren't an everydayer, you need to be one. On Sunday, I'm going to go live immediately after the game ends to break down all the action and maybe a Tennessee Titans upset. It would be the biggest upset of the NFL season so far, maybe. And then we'll have a ton of content coming for you guys next week as the Titans prepare for their Week 8 matchup against the Detroit Lions. But with that being said, throw a thumbs up on the video, throw a Titan up down with the chat, and we will head into my keys to victory. So number one for me, we'll start on the offensive side of the ball at least, is to run the football. I mean, I've been talking about this for quite a few games throughout the season, but this is a game where you really don't want to put the ball in Will Levis's hands. I mean, I think maybe every game at this point is a game where you don't want to put the ball in Will Levis's hands, but this isn't just about the Titans and what the Titans need to do to win. It's about what can beat the Buffalo Bills. And if they want to upset Buffalo, they're going to have to run the ball down their throat. And if you look at some of the statistics, that's something that Buffalo is susceptible to. Right now, the Buffalo Bills are bottom 10 in the NFL, bottom 10 in run defense. They're allowing 140 yards per game. So not only does it make sense for the Tennessee Titans to run the football because that's what they do best, but it also is something that Buffalo has struggled against. You look at Buffalo's 2 losses this year, they've averaged 182 yards allowed. Now, I will say that a lot of that came in the game against the Baltimore Ravens, where they allowed the Ravens to run for 277 rushing yards. So it is a tad slanted to go by average, but the point remains. Buffalo is a team that you can run the football on, and the Tennessee Titans are a team that needs to run the football because the passing game is just simply not where you need it to be. So that seems pretty blatantly obvious to me, but it's something that must happen. Something that won't be maybe as easy to accomplish, though, is my key to victory number 2, and that is to win the turnover battle. And here's the thing. When I say win the turnover battle, it can't be 2-1 Titans or 1-0 Titans. It's not going to do it. The Titans need to dominate the turnover battle. That is the only way they are going to win this game. And you look at Buffalo's 2 losses, you know, they're a team that doesn't turn over the ball, even in their bad losses. It's just something that doesn't happen. Josh Allen hasn't thrown an interception all season long. So Buffalo isn't a team that turns over the ball. But the reality here is you look at the Titans in the 2 games where they've been the closest, the game that they won in Miami and then against Indianapolis last week, they tied the turnover battle 1-1. Every other game that the Titans have played this year, they have lost the turnover battle. So when they've tied the turnover battle, they've won or been close. Now, if they can win the turnover battle by 2, at least, if it's 3-1, if it's 2-0, I personally think the Titans need to win the turnover battle 3-0. And when I say turnovers, I know instantly our brains go to fumbles and interceptions, right? But I mean stops on 4th down. If the Titans can, missed field goals. If the Titans can hold the Buffalo Bills to some missed 4th down opportunities, that's a turnover on downs. It's still a turnover to me. So if the Titans can combine fourth down stops, missed field goals, fumbles, and interceptions, and they can win that battle by 2 or really by 3, in my opinion. If they can do that, the Titans set themselves up with a chance to win, because it's not just that you're stopping the Buffalo Bills offense. You also, in those scenarios, give your offense a good opportunity to score. You look at what happened with Amani Hooker last week and the interception he had on Joe Flacco. He returned that for about 30 yards. And it set up one of the Titans' only 2 touchdowns on the day. It gave the Titans a short field, and within 3 plays, they were able to score a touchdown. So, to me, if the Titans do not win the turnover battle by at least 2, and honestly, probably 3, they're not going to have a chance in this game. So, run the football, win the turnover battle handily, dominate the turnover battle, and then finally, for me, Will Levis, you got to wake up. Like, look, Will Levis is not good. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I think that he's a good quarterback but he can be better. He can be better than he is right now. He can play better football than he has so far this year. Do I think he could be a good quarterback? No, but he can be better. And for the Titans to win a singular game here against Buffalo and upset Buffalo, they're going to need Will Levis to wake up a little bit. At least play the best version of Will Levis football, which probably still isn't a good quarterback season long, but in one game, he can make some plays. He can throw the ball down the field. He can use his legs to escape the pocket. We could see the things that Will Levis has done and say that he is capable of doing just a little bit more. Okay? Like, we have seen the worst version of Will Levis. And while I think that's closer to who he really is, there is still a version of Will Levis that is better than what we've seen, even if it's not good. So if the Titans can run the football with success, if the Titans can dominate the turnover battle, and if Will Levis plays the best version of himself, then the Titans can get an upset. Now, I know that a lot of you right now are thinking to yourselves, well, how likely is it that that happens? The Titans have not been a good turnover team. Buffalo is going to prepare to stop the run. Will Levis hasn't played like the best version of himself in a long time. Well, you're right, and I agree with you. And I'll probably lean that way when we do our game and score predictions here at the end of the show. But if you want to talk about the Titans pulling an upset, that's how they got to do it. Let me know your keys to victory down below. We got to talk about the players to watch in this game as well. Before I do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Arena Club. For most of us that like collecting cards, the idea of spending $2,000 or more on a Luka Doncic or a Ellie De La Cruz or a Patrick Mahomes rookie card, it just, well, isn't in the cards. I love collecting, but there's some serious money to drop out there on some of these cards. Thanks to slab packs from arenaclub.com, now it's possible to score gem mints for a fraction of their retail price. Every card that I listed was hit from last week's Arena Club slab pack drop. Arena Club is the only repack that provides real value, a complete view of all possible cards, and clear hit rates for each one. Arena Club slab packs are revolutionizing the repack game with transparency. After your pools are revealed, they'll immediately be placed in your showroom for safekeeping, selling, trading, or auction. The Arena Club gradings process is accurate, it's fair, and transparent, with a full grade rationale provided and explanation of how your card was scored. Right now, you can get 10% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/LockedOnNFL and use the code LockedOnNFL. That's arenaclub.com/LockedOnNFL. Use the code LockedOnNFL for $10 off your first purchase. Today's episode is also brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks makes daily fantasy sports as simple as possible and as fun as possible. That's why they have over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. Prize Picks makes daily fantasy sports accessible to all. All you do is say more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. You can run your game all season long with Prize Picks. Think some mock examples. Will Levis, 100.5 passing yards. Tony Pollard, 80.5 rushing yards. DeAndre Hopkins, 3.5 catches. All you do is pick 2 to 6 players from around the NFL and say whether they're going to do more or less. It's that easy. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Download the Prize Picks app. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL. You're going to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. It's Prize Picks. Run your game. Titans fans, let's continue today's game preview edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. We talked about my keys to victory in this game. Let me know your keys to victory down below or hit me up on Twitter at TicTacTitans and let me know your thoughts. Now I want to zoom in a little bit and talk about the players to watch in this game. Remember, at the end of the show, I'm going to give my game and score prediction, do a little gambling, do a little fantasy as well. Thank you for making Locked On Titans your first to listen each and every day. Monday through Friday, Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. You're not going to beat that anywhere else. Make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's Locked On Titans, your team every day. But looking at the players to watch, and I kind of want to pick up where I started here. My number one player to watch in this one is Will Levis. I mean, it has been a disaster, quite honestly, so far. And went back through the tape of last week's game. And the reality is that Will Levis has been late on throws. He's just not seeing it cleanly. He's not getting through his progressions quick enough. There are some backside progressions that he's simply not getting to. I can think of one specifically where Tyler Boyd, it's one that went to Calvin Ridley. It was one of Calvin Ridley's targets. It was the one on the sideline that almost was intercepted. Calvin Ridley was open down the sideline. And the number one thing that I think, obviously other than getting through his progressions quicker, is Levis isn't throwing with anticipation. So in college, you can see it and you can throw it because the windows don't close as fast as they do in the NFL. It makes sense. The players aren't as athletic. They aren't as smart. The game plans aren't as good. But right now, Levis is a beat off. He's just a beat off. Okay? He needs to throw quicker, see it better, and anticipate. There were a couple of throws to Calvin Ridley on the sideline where if Levis throws the ball a beat earlier, it's there. But because he hesitates just a millisecond, the defender is able to get there. The ball is offline. The ball is too late. Like on the interception, down the sideline. In the play that I'm talking about where Tyler Boyd is on the backside, streaking wide open. Should have been a touchdown to Calvin Ridley all the same. Tyler Boyd may have been open, but it should have been a touchdown to Calvin Ridley because he beats his man down the sideline. You could see how upset Ridley is after the play because he knows he won on the route. And Levis takes contact, which makes the ball flutter, but if Levis gets the ball out on time, the contact isn't a problem. And it's the same thing on the interception. Will Levis takes contact, which Peter Skoronski got held, and that's why there was a free rusher. Egregious that the referees didn't see that. There were 2 referees right there, and they didn't see it. Unbelievable. But the pressure would not have mattered if Will Levis got that ball out on time. And if Will Levis gets the ball out on time, not only does the pressure not matter, but the free safety is not able to get over there as quick and intercept the pass. And it's probably a completion to Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley is open so much. I posted it here on the YouTube channel in the community section. Calvin Ridley is the 3rd best separator in the NFL at wide receiver right now. He's creating the 3rd most separation of any wide receiver in the NFL. It's not Calvin Ridley's fault, folks. Calvin Ridley is playing great football. So Will Levis has to be better. He's got to go quicker. He's got to get the ball out of his hands. He's got to anticipate more. Right now, his confidence is broken, in my opinion. And you could blame Brian Callahan for that if you want. I don't. I think what happened is, and I said this on yesterday's show in my Roland's rant at the end of the show, Will Levis made stupid turnovers at the beginning of the year. that are just purely on him. It's not on the coach. It's not on the O-line. It is on Will Levis that he made those stupid turnovers. And because he made those stupid turnovers, his confidence is shaken. So now he doesn't want to turn over the ball, so he wants to see things clearly, but you cannot play football like that or you're late. If you're on time, you're late. It's like meetings in football or the military. If you're on time, you're late. You have to be early. You have to get the ball out with anticipation and understand that I'm throwing this right now, and by the time that it's ready, it'll be there. And that has really hurt Will Levis. It's milliseconds. It's microseconds. It's small inches here and there. But that is the difference in NFL football, as Al Pacino told us in Any Given Sunday, right? The inches. So, to me, he can play better. And he has to step up in this game if the Titans are going to win. Now, if you're going to respond to that and Will Levis sucks, he can't do that, but okay, well, then the Titans are going to lose. But my job on Game Plan Friday is to tell you how the Titans can win. And if the Titans are going to win, Will Levis has to play better, and he's got to play with anticipation. But I talked about the run game. Tony Pollard is my other player to watch. With Tajay Spears being out for this game with the hamstring injury, it's going to be a lot of Tony Pollard. And honestly, Tony Pollard might be the best Tennessee Titan on offense so far this year. I would say Tony Pollard, Calvin Ridley, and J.C. Latham have been the best players on the Titans offense this year. Tony Pollard not only has to have a good game if the Titans are going to win, he has to have a great game, because the Titans offensive line needs to block well, but Tony Pollard has to do more than just get what's blocked for. Tony Pollard has to break tackles. Tony Pollard has to make people miss. Like we saw in the 3rd and 19 draw to Tony Pollard, the second touchdown of the day for the Titans. Tony Pollard has to be special in this game if the Titans are going to win. No doubt about it in my mind. And I think he can be. Finally, Jeffery Simmons. Simmons had his best game of the year against Indianapolis. He factored, okay? And it wasn't huge in the stat sheet, which I know a lot of you guys just go to the box score and say, oh, he didn't have a sack, he didn't do this, he didn't play well. Watch the tape. And I posted highlights of some of the stuff that impact plays that he made in that game that really gave the Titans a chance to win. But Jeffery Simmons can't just be good in this game. Jeffery Simmons has to be great. He has to be a game wrecker. Cincinnati Bengals playoff game. Los Angeles Rams upset in 2021. Simmons has to play up to that level in this game, or the Titans aren't going to win. No doubt about it. So, the highest paid player on the team has to be the highest paid player on the team. So, Will Levis has to play better. Tony Pollard has to be special, and Jeffery Simmons has to be dominant. Let me know your players to watch in this game down below, along with your keys to victory. Now it's time for predictions. And I got to tell you, I think the Titans need to just pray if they hope to win this game against the Buffalo Bills. Before I give you my predictions, including my gambling predictions for this game, do want to tell you guys that you need to check out FanDuel, because you're going to get a big return to start the second quarter of the season on America's #1 sportsbook, FanDuel. When you get a hunch in the middle of the game, go to FanDuel. You can check out the latest stats. You can view live play-by-play information and so much more on the same exact page where you place your bets. It's an all-encompassing hub of football information. And right now, you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That Buffalo Bills money line, $5 bet, get your $200 in bonus cash. I think that's probably a good route to go. Make sure that you check out America's #1 sportsbook at FanDuel.com. Titans fans, let's cap off today's game preview edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. We talked about my keys to victory. We talked about my players to watch in this game. Now I want to talk some predictions. I'm going to make some predictions for this game. We'll talk game and score. We'll talk gambling. We'll talk fantasy. Excited to dive in. Before I do, thank you for making Locked On Titans your first listen. Now for your second listen, check out Locked On NFL. I'm the lead host of Locked On NFL. You get your Titans news here with me. Now you can get your national NFL news with me for free in under 30 minutes every day on the Locked On NFL podcast. I would really appreciate your guys' support if you would go over there and subscribe on whatever platform you check out the show, whether it's YouTube or podcast, whatever it happens to be. But with that being said, game and score prediction. I'm sorry, guys. I apologize. I know some people respond to me when I pick the Titans to lose and say, how can you cover the Titans and pick them to lose? How can you root for the Titans to lose? How can you not have faith in this team? And number one, what I would respond with is the Titans are 1-4. How do you have faith in the team? I'm not a faith-based person. That's not how I operate. But those of you who are faith-based people, how do you have faith in a team that's 1-4? To me, that's not faith. That's illogical. That is ignoring reality to make yourself feel warm and fuzzies. It doesn't make any sense. So, anyways, the other thing I would say here is when I bet against the Titans, I am not rooting for them to lose. I would rather them win. But the reality is, if the Titans are going to suck, I'm going to make money off of it, just like I do any other sucky team. I don't just place bets on the Titans. I bet on the entire NFL. Last week, I was 5-0 on the FanDuel Friday show of Locked On NFL. So maybe follow with me here. But the point is that just because I place a bet on Will Levis to throw an interception doesn't mean I want it to happen. I'm willing to lose that money. But I would rather make some money off my own misfortune than be broke and sad. What's that doing for me? Nothing. Okay? So with that being said, I think the Titans are getting rolled in this one. I think they are going to get smoked. I have this game 31-10. The Bills don't turn over the ball like that this year. Josh Allen isn't throwing a bunch of interceptions. It's simply not happening. And the Titans have shown that they're going to turn over the ball. The Titans have shown that when a team really dedicates to stopping the run, they're going to be able to do it. The Buffalo Bills are just a much better football team than the Tennessee Titans. And it pains me to say it. And I know that in previous years, the Titans have been able to, a lot of people have said this week, wouldn't it be so like the Titans to go in and win one of these games against Detroit and Buffalo? Yeah, I guess. But I feel like that's ignoring the majority of Tennessee Titans history. Outside of the Super Bowl year, outside of 2003, outside of the 13-3, 2008, 2009 year, outside of 2019, outside of 2020 and 2021, outside of those years, the Titans have been mostly terrible. So no, it would not be very Titans-like for them to go in here and beat one of the best teams in the NFL. It wouldn't. Now, I laid out how the Titans can get an upset here. We talked about that. But am I going to predict that? No. No, I'm not. So, 31-10, Buffalo Bills. And I will lead that into keeping it plus 100. Where we talk about the gambling aspect of this game. Right now, the Tennessee Titans are 8.5-point underdogs, folks. Don't gamble if you don't like gambling. I know some of you don't, and that's fine. That's your prerogative. I don't think that gambling is something that everyone should be doing. If you don't have the money to lose, if you don't feel comfortable with it, then don't. But if you are somebody who gambles, how can you not take the Buffalo Bills with the points? How can you not? There's no way that the Tennessee Titans are going to keep this within 10 points. There's no way. And look, I have the points 31-10, which would be 41, which would be under. But that is so close on the 41.5 over under. I'm not touching because the Bills could drop 40 in this game. And I know some of you right now are saying, but the Titans defense is good. Listen, guys. They played Caleb Williams in his debut. Then they played the Jets with Nathaniel Hackett. Then they played Malik Willis and the Green Bay Packers, who put up a ton of points. And then they got the JV Miami Dolphins. And then they got the Colts, who the Colts aren't a terrible offense, but I don't think the Colts are a very good team, if I'm honest with you. They may be 3-3, but the Colts aren't good. This is the best team the Titans have played by far. And this is the only elite quarterback that the Titans have played, clearly. Buffalo is a totally different class of team than the Titans have played all year. And I said it on yesterday's show, and I think the Titans' defense is good. I think they're a good defense, but they aren't like elite, top 5, number 1 defense like the stats tell you right now. They don't get pressure on the quarterback. There have been a lot of coverage problems that haven't been taken advantage of because quarterbacks have been inaccurate. Think about the Tyreek Hill plays against the Dolphins that Tyler Huntley's playing quarterback. Think about Joe Flacco missing 3 wide open wide receivers down the field last week. Josh Allen ain't missing those consistently. He may miss one, but he ain't missing all of them. And I think about Keenan Allen on the slot fade in week 1. DJ Moore down the field in week 1. There are plenty of opportunities where this defense could look way worse. Now, I think the Titans will do good to stop the run. Buffalo's run game hasn't been that great in their losses. Only 115 yards per game in their losses. It's not terrible, but it's not great. So I think the Titans can stop the run maybe, but this Buffalo team is just a whole different animal. I mean, the Bills are a whole different animal than what the Titans have seen so far. And I think the Titans defense is good, but I do not think that it's great. So Buffalo could put up a bunch of points, and I don't trust the over-under here, but I trust the Bills with -8.5. That's a hammer for me this week. Finally, we'll do my beautiful dark twisted fantasy player of the game. And I'm going with Calvin Ridley. And here's why. Because he complained last week. Because he was mad last week. So the Titans are going to force feed Calvin Ridley. And I think the Titans are going to be down big in this game early on. Like by halftime, they're going to be down by multiple scores. So the Titans are going to have to abandon the run game and throw the football. So I got Calvin Ridley as my beautiful dark twisted fantasy player of the week. So if you got Calvin Ridley, fire him up. If you do daily fantasy, play Calvin Ridley. That's what I would be looking at. But with that being said, that is going to do it for this week 6 game preview edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. Make sure that you throw a thumbs up on the video. Make sure that you throw a tighten up down in the chat. As always, I am your host, Tyler Rowland, and this was, wait. Stop the presses. I want to do a couple of minutes on Jamal Adams. I told you guys that Jamal Adams was washed. I told you that was a terrible signing. Everybody said, oh, it's low risk, high reward. No, it wasn't. It was low risk, low reward. And then everybody said, oh, well, it's only a minimum contract. Well, they traded Elijah Molden, who's playing awesome for the Chargers. They wasted a roster spot on a bum who can't play. And he was a malcontent in the locker room. What kind of impact did Jamal Adams have on the locker room complaining about his snaps, needing to be released 6 weeks in? That could have a negative impact. And then other people say, oh, well, if they didn't sign Adams, they wouldn't have got Quandre Diggs. Well, if that's true, wouldn't Quandre Diggs want to leave right now? If Quandre Diggs only joined this team because they signed Jamal Adams, then wouldn't Quandre Diggs want to leave because they cut Jamal Adams? See, the thought process doesn't make sense. Jamal Adams is a terrible football player. He's completely washed, and he's not that great of a guy either. I don't think that he's like an evil person, but I think he's a jerk. So, I get my fair share of stuff wrong, but when I'm right, I'm right. I told you guys that Jamal Adams was going to be a disaster, and that's exactly what it was. But again, as always, I am your host, Tyler Rowland, and this was Locked On Titans.